Picture this. A small child in the 1920s stands in front of a corner store in the Jim Crow South, coins sweating in their palm. The glass jars behind the counter gleam with hard red and white peppermint sticks, their sugary scent cutting through the smell of wood smoke and summer dust. For a nickel, the child can walk away with a pocket full of sweetness that will last all afternoon. The same nickel wouldn't buy admission to a downtown candy shop where ribboned boxes of hand-dipped chocolates wait behind polished windows. Those were different worlds, divided by more than distance. The story of candy in America is a story of race, class, and calculated profit. By the time peppermint sticks and canes became fixtures in black churches, barbershops, and living rooms, the market had already been drawn along racial lines. Peppermint candy's connection to African American life wasn't random. It was designed by the very white-owned companies that made fortunes off cheap sugar while marketing refined chocolates and bonbons as a symbol of whiteness and wealth. Sugar itself was steeped in black labor and pain. Enslaved Africans in the Caribbean and American South cut the cane that fed global appetites. By the late 19th and early 20th century, industrial refining had made sugar cheaper than ever. Candy makers saw their chance. Hard candy required little more than sugar, water, and peppermint oil. It kept for months and sold for pennies. Perfect for corner stores and push carts in working class and black neighborhoods where disposable income was scarce. The marketing was anything but subtle. Historian April Merlot describes an advertisement from the early 1900s in Western Confectioner, dating to the 1920s candy boom, that shows Irish, Chinese, and Negro lads chomping on a long peppermint cane with the cheerful tagline, "No race, creed, or color in candy's appeal." The words pretended to celebrate equality, but the image quietly set cheap peppermint canes as the candy of immigrants and black children, while carefully reserving expensive chocolate bonbons for white middle-class families. Trade journals bragged about the strategy, as documented in Tainted Treats, Racism and the Rise of Big Candy. The candy market was a racially differentiated one. The more expensive varieties, such as hand-dipped chocolate bonbons, were aimed at young white women and middle-class children. ATTN described the same reality in plainer words. Higher-priced, fancier candies were marketed to white Americans, while cheaper candies were marketed to poorer, often black Americans. These were not coincidences. They were deliberate racial marketing tactics. The racism didn't stop with coded targeting. Product names and packaging reinforced status. Cheap sweets with racist branding were sold cheaply and widely. Chocolates and bonbons in elegant boxes were displayed behind glass in upscale white neighborhoods. Whitman's, one of America's most respected candy makers, once sold Pickaninny Peppermints, chocolate-covered, with the slur printed right on the label until November 22, 1941, when Thurgood Marshall, then an NAACP attorney, wrote to the company urging it to realize its racial insensitivity. Whitman's claimed the name meant cute colored kid, but eventually dropped the product under public pressure. Even the very structure of candy work followed the color line. Black laborers toiled in the hot, low-paid factory jobs that churned out barrels of stick candy and peppermints by the ton. White women were hired to hand-dip bonbons or staff the elegant shops that displayed those chocolates in satin-lined boxes. What people ate, where they worked, and what they were paid for it were all parts of the same system. White-owned candy corporations understood sugar's power to hook customers and kept prices so low that a nickel could create a daily habit. Flooding black neighborhoods with cheap, high-sugar candies that were also addictive was not so different from later strategies used by the tobacco and alcohol industries. These sweets were marketed as harmless joy, but the business model relied on repeat buyers and on keeping the profits far away from the communities doing the buying. Generations later, peppermint candy still sits in church purses, in grandmother's glass dishes, and at the heart of black holiday rituals. It is comfort and memory, a piece of heritage sweet enough to survive decades of neglect and discrimination. But it also carries the quiet weight of exploitation. A simple red and white candy became a cultural emblem not only because it was loved, but because it was positioned as the sweetest option black families could reliably access. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. This content draws from April Merlot's Sugar and Civilization, historical trade journals, and investigations into racist candy marketing, including Tainted Treats, Racism and the Rise of Big Candy, TPR.org, which recorded, the candy market was a racially differentiated one. The more expensive varieties, such as hand-dipped chocolate bonbons, were aimed at young white women and middle-class children. The cheap stick candy was targeted at African American and immigrant Irish and Chinese children. ATTN confirmed. Higher-priced, fancier candies were marketed to white Americans, while cheaper candies were marketed to poorer, often black Americans. This content also includes the 1920s Western Confectioner ad declaring no race, creed, or color in candy's appeal, and the Baltimore Afro-American article from November 22, 1941, documenting Thurgood Marshall's protest of Whitman's Pickaninny Peppermints. Legal disclaimer. This content is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. Every effort has been made to present accurate historical research, but some early advertising archives are incomplete, and exact publication dates of certain ads are not always available. Viewer discretion is advised. Scope News seeks to reflect history as truthfully as possible while acknowledging the limits of available records and image licensing.